What's up, English 218? I hope everybody's doing well. More importantly, I hope that you're finding the course useful and that you're learning a lot. This is my fifth take trying to make this video, and I've been talking into a camera for about 40 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep this relatively brief because I also had a really long teaching day today. This video is going to be more about looking forward than it is about presenting new information, but I do want to talk to you about a few things. First, I want to thank you for the work that you did in the feedback forum. Okay? Peer review is obviously an essential part of the writing process. It's integral to the creation of new knowledge, and any article that you see published in an academic venue or a scholarly journal has undergone rigorous peer review. More importantly, though, and more practically speaking, I think it's really important for us to begin developing skills at providing feedback, because in the workplace, whatever that workplace looks like for you, it's going to be pretty common for you to have to take an existing piece of writing, whether that's just discharge documentation or a flyer or a brochure or a piece of information on your website, and make it better. So part of the skill set from this class is not only being able to work from assignment sheet to first draft to feedback to final draft of a written assignment, but also to be able to look at something as it currently exists and imagine how it might be better or more effective or more user-friendly or more organized or whatever the criteria are. So I want to thank you for that, and I can tell you that if we can even get a little bit better at the process of reviewing and providing feedback, that is an incredible outcome from this class, because I think it's such an important skill, and it'll make you a valuable employee or participant in any knowledge-making or writing project that you're part of. Secondly, I want to talk to you a little bit about the assignment that you've done, which was to go out and find some strategies for writing more concisely. Now, I'm not going to go into tremendous detail here. I will post a document in the Week 5 folder that outlines some of what I'm about to say in more detail, but there are really two things I want you to think about when it comes to writing concisely. Okay? The first is to power your sentence with really good verbs, and I'm sure many of you found some iteration of this in your research, but the verb is the powerhouse of the sentence, and if we don't have a strong verb, what ends up happening is we have to bolt a bunch of other stuff onto the sentence, like prepositional phrases and complex verb structures, and what we ultimately end up with is a sentence that's kind of clunky, it's not very aerodynamic, and it has a lot of wind resistance, to use a sort of aeronautical metaphor. So what we want to do is try to find the best verb that we can to power that sentence, and sometimes that verb is masquerading somewhere else in the sentence. It's our job to identify a strong, illustrative, descriptive verb and let that do the work of the sentence, okay? And so if you find that you're using forms of the verb to be, is, was, were, has been, have been, yes, that may signal that you're writing in the passive voice, but more importantly, it signals that you're probably not using the strongest verb that you can. So I just want you to be mindful of that. And again, one thing I want to stress, nobody naturally writes really concisely. Nobody sits down and pumps out incredibly efficient prose and then moves on to the next thing. The art of writing concisely is really about hard work, okay? And it's about spending time to find the right word. I'm not going to say a perfect word, but find the right word that best communicates what you're talking about. And a lot of times the place where we can get lazy is when it comes to choosing the verb that powers the sentence. The other thing that sort of infiltrates our writing when we're not using strong verbs are adverbs. And to take you back to high school English class, an adverb is a word that describes either a verb or an adjective. Okay, they often end in ly. And Stephen King tells us that the road to hell is paved in adverbs. And what he means by that is adverbs are the mark of sort of a lazy writer. Okay, and I'll just give you one quick example. This doesn't have anything to do with academic or scientific writing, but it illustrates my point pretty well. Okay, for instance, I can tell you that I walked slowly. Okay, and that communicates to you something about the pace of how I walked. But if I asked you just to take a minute and think of other verbs that mean the same thing, go ahead, do it. Hit pause, write them down. Okay, you're going to come up with certain ones: staggered, ambled, sauntered, etc. Those are all much better verbs, because in addition to communicating the pace at which somebody walked, they also animate that action in meaningful ways, and they communicate much, much more than just walked slowly. So a lot of times, if we hold ourselves to this standard, we can select verbs that move that sentence along, that make that sentence more direct, that ultimately make that sentence more efficient. And that's what we're after, because our readers are busy people. And they want to get to the point. When we strap a bunch of extra stuff onto sentences, redundancies, prepositional phrases, baggy phrases, all these types of things, all it does is detract from the core meaning of the sentence, right? It diverts attention elsewhere, and that's not something that we really want to do for our readers, especially when the content that we're writing about is already complex enough. We don't need to augment that by using a needlessly complex way of writing. So we want to try to write simple, declarative, useful sentences. And as I alluded to, the Hemingway app can help us, but it's not without its limitations, okay? So check that out, but just be mindful that that's not going to solve all of our problems. It's just a starting spot. It's a really good visual, quick way, pain-free way to just get a sense of where we're at. So that's great. The second thing when it comes to writing concisely that I want you to think about is you just have to be ruthless. Writing concisely is hard work. You have to go in and scrutinize every single sentence and ask yourself, is there a more direct, efficient, compact way for me to communicate this idea? Am I being redundant? Am I using a needlessly wordy phrase, etc., etc.? And it really comes down to that. You really have to have the ethic of putting your butt in the chair and scrutinizing your writing. The side effect of this, and it's a good side effect, unlike many of the side effects we see with pharmaceuticals, is that your writing will become more compact, it will become easier to read, and by extension, oftentimes, we end up with fewer grammatical and mechanical errors because our sentences are simple and they're straightforward. And that does not necessarily mean that the writing is not sophisticated. The namesake for the Hemingway app, Ernest Hemingway, is one of the most heralded writers of all time, and he used simple, plain language to describe really complex things. So anyway, just a couple of things to think about. You all found incredible resources on that topic, but the most important thing to me is that you just spend time thinking about it. That is something that you hold yourself accountable to, and that is to make your writing as lean and as aerodynamic as possible. If you do that, your reader will thank you, I'll thank you, and we'll be in a good spot. Moving forward, okay? So as soon as I get off of this video app, I'm going to go take a look at your summary and analysis assignments in the forum. I'm going to provide feedback. I've got to be completely honest. It's almost 6 o'clock now. I'm probably not going to get through all of those tonight, but certainly by probably around noontime tomorrow, I should have those done. That should give you some feedback to fuel your revisions, and then we can put that assignment to bed. Also this week, in addition to developing your revision plan and actually revising that assignment, we're going to start moving towards our next assignment, which is the blog post assignment. So we're going to move into a new unit, which is about communicating with the public. I'm going to have you read 2 blog posts that take 2 very different sides of a debate about science-based medicine. The purpose of this is just to expose you to a real scientific dialogue or conversations that's taking place in blog format, to get us thinking about the different ways that we might present our opinions or our arguments about something, and to just get us deconstructing how somebody has put together a piece of writing. Okay, each of those pieces of writing have things that they're doing particularly well. They also have things that they're not doing so well, and I want you to sort of analyze that, because in the blog assignment, you're going to have 2 options, okay? And both of them require you presenting state-of-the-art scientific or research information to an audience. The first option is you're just going to inform somebody. You're going to get them up to speed on what science is telling us about a particular topic. The second option is to write in such a way that you're trying to convince somebody or persuade somebody to change their behaviors or take up a cause. Okay? And we'll get into this in week 6, so just use that Cliff's Notes version right now to get you in the right frame of mind. But what I want you to do as you read those 2 blog posts is I want you to think about the decision each of those writers has made in presenting their argument. Because ultimately, information being equal, how you present your ideas goes a long way in determining what types of legs or what types of momentum you can build with your information. In other words, if I gave 2 people equal information in terms of the validity and all of that sort of stuff, the deciding factor would ultimately be how well those individual writers package that information, how well they present it to the reader. At the end of the day, writing is a series of decisions that we make. As writers, we sit down and we make decisions about organization, format, language, evidence, claims, tone, style, etc., etc., etc. And so what I want you to do in this assignment is to begin to unpack some of the decisions that those writers made, and to try to communicate to me which of the writers you found more compelling and why. I think in answering that question, we're going to learn a little bit about ways to be more rhetorically effective. So how do we present evidence? How do we maintain an appropriate tone? How do we unpack complex information? All of this will culminate in us having a better understanding how to approach our blog assignment. And the sort of side effect of this is that you're going to get to read about a really interesting debate about science-based medicine and the place of alternative therapies in this dialogue. That's pretty much what we're up against. We're at 10 minutes now. That's pretty good. I can finally hit stop and post this to YouTube. But if you have any questions or concerns, or you're struggling, or you don't know where this course is going, or whatever you need, call, text, email. I will meet you anywhere, anytime to help you. I think this is such an important class. I hope that so far you've learned about how to find information, how to ingest information. Now we're going to learn how to translate information. And ultimately, this class is about exposing you to as much high-level thinking and writing as possible, and we're already a quarter of the way through the semester. So again, if you need anything at all, let me know, and I really appreciate your diligence and everything you've done so far. Take care.